In this movie I want to explore the fundamentals of materials inside Unity. A material defines how the surface of an object looks inside the level. So inside this scene here, for example, the sci-fi corridor scene, you can see that the doors of the environment have one particular look. Again, these spheres and the floor and all the other objects have a particular appearance. And this is defined ultimately by the material they have combined with the lighting in the scene. So this scene that you can see in front of you here is part of the sci-fi corridor scene that was developed by Unity Technologies and can be downloaded completely free of charge from the Unity Asset Store and integrated into your project. If I switch, for example, to the Asset Store, you can find the corridor lighting example available from the Asset Store completely free of charge, and you can download that and import it into your project. This is a scene that I have open here to demonstrate how materials can be used. If I create a completely new object in the scene by choosing Game Object, 3D Object, and in this case I'm going to create a sphere, so I'm going to select Sphere here and just bring the sphere into the scene and bring that up into the level. I can find a range of different materials available to apply to this sphere and to any object in the scene by opening up the Materials folder here inside the Project panel. So I'm going to double click the Materials folder, and you can see that we have even the materials classified under various groups: Particles, Environment, and Demo Balls. I'm going to open the Demo Balls folder to see a range of different materials that I can apply to selected objects in the scene. If I select a material simply by clicking on it once, I can see properties for that material here inside the Object Inspector. And effectively, these properties define how the material is going to look. I can apply material to objects in the scene simply by dragging and dropping. So for example, I can take the Demo Ball red material and drag and drop that onto this object inside the scene to apply that material to the ball. And you'll see here right now that the same sphere, it has a different material applied. The same thing here with the blue material. I can drag and drop that onto the ball here, and that's looking pretty nice. Again, we have this kind of glowing material here on this ball, and I can drag and drop that onto the ball in the scene to kind of have this luminescent glow for the ball. And again, I can replace this with this Demo Ball white to apply this here. In addition, I can take some of the existing materials, for example, say the blue floor here, and apply that to other objects in the scene. For example, I can drag and drop this onto the floor to apply that blue material to the floor. I can apply it to a particular door or to this particular door. I can even apply it to areas in the wall and areas on the ceiling and areas in the distance as well to completely change how these objects look in the scene. I'm going to press Ctrl Z to undo that. So by taking these objects and dragging and dropping materials onto them, we can completely customize how the objects look. We can always find out which materials are assigned to an object by simply selecting the object, as I have done in the case of this sphere here, and moving to the Object Inspector. By moving to the Mesh Renderer component, I can expand the Materials group, and you can see that the size field lists 1, which means that this object has one material applied. In element 0, it defines the material that is being applied to this object. I can simply click once on the material in that slot, and it will select the material inside the project panel. So for example, if I drag and drop the material onto the object here, this selection is changed, and by clicking on that, it selects that object. I can also apply a material to this object, not just by dragging and dropping it onto here, but by also dragging and dropping it into this material field to update the material being used for that object. So that's how materials work inside the Unity engine. They define how the surfaces of 3D objects look.